Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Retain podcast on the GrowthAmped channel. Today we are joined by Chris Douglas, who is the founder and lead strategist at Big Red Dog Marketing, where he helps small and mid-sized businesses grow through SEO, paid search, and lead gen. With more than 20 years of marketing experience, he brings a hands-on relationship-driven approach focused on trust, practical strategy, and measurable results. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, so you've been doing this for a while, and if you don't mind, can you share a little bit about your role as the founder and lead strategist, and what does that look like on a day-to-day?
So my job is to help clients make educated decisions, right? Because in the day, it's their money, it's their business, and we're here to serve. My team, we put together recommendations. We'll come through and have meetings monthly, but my job is really to sit down with those clients and say, okay, look, this is my recommendation for the best path forward for your business.
All right. So, given your role, Chris, we'd love for you to share a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day and how you work with your clients, and just generally where you spend most of your time as the agency grows.
So it's a great question. And it's been a very turbulent year in terms of change. But at the end of the day, my job is to present recommendations to clients as I try to act like they're either their VP or director of marketing to help them navigate these changes. And so we present the recommendations where it's their decision because it's their money, their business. But what we're trying to do is present them with the best path forward to maximize their brand awareness and their business growth and meet their goals.
For sure.
One thing, when I started this 10, 15 years ago, started working on my own, it was much different because things had settled down for a while. In this last year, year and a half with AI, everything old is new again. And it's interesting and scary at the same time. All right. Like author bios. They had fallen out of favor for a while. Now they're back and they're more important than ever because you have to convince an AI that you have gravitas, you know your stuff. And at the same time, schema and using JSON like an API connect to get Google and the AIs to figure out your website and wrap it up in the most easy, convenient method possible. That's bigger than ever. It's just a major volatile market that we don't know what Google's going to do next week, but we kind of know what we need to do because we've seen where they have gone.
Right. So let's lead with the elephant in the room, right? AI. So you said AI has changed a lot of the things, or AI has had a significant impact in how you approach customers, how you work on deliverables, how things are executed and tracked. What's the biggest shift that you've seen with this being said, and how have you adapted?
So, like I said, everything old is new again, but it used to be we would write long tail keyword blogs and drive traffic based on that to warm up a market to then come in and do leads over time. Well, now, for instance, like a karate dojo, one of my clients, we did a blog 2 years ago with a video, how to tie your karate belt. All right. Because it's a big deal. A lot of the kids, they try to do it. It looks sloppy for a while and it
Right.
became a point of emphasis for the dojo. So we just did a blog and then we handed it to parents and said, here you go. Here is a quick tutorial on how to tie the belt. Instantly fix things. So for the internal communication side, existing clients, great, perfect. People on the website learned about other offerings, things are good. For external markets, Google came out, took the same idea, used a different video from a different dojo,
Uh-huh.
broke that down. Now that's a 0-click search. Okay. So instead of having traffic come to your site and you get rewarded and then you start ranking for other things, now it's a 0-click search. So we've had to pivot and define a way or create a way to define what the value of a 0-click search is for a client. And it's a little bit of a convoluted mess, but in essence, we can prove brand mentions and wins when they have it there where if over time someone can find it, come back to it, you see an increase in brand search. But really up front, the 0-click search has been, I mean, I'm seeing a 40 to 50% drop for a lot of clients because again, they've used long tail keyword blogs to gain trust. And now we take those same blogs that we write and we have them on the site, but it's more to prove when people get there that we have the authority, the expertise, the proper experience that they're looking for to build the trust, eat with Google, so that one, the AI bots like it and start
Sure.
ranking the site. And two,
Sure.
when people do hit the site, it's not like a landing page where it's terminal and there's a form or there are blogs at the bottom. You can read them. They're categorized. It's clean. And it gives you more of a sense that this person knows what they're talking about. And that's proof in the pudding has become more important than not these days.
For sure. For sure.
So that's the biggest change in the last 6 months, a year, is that, like I said, I'm seeing decrease, but I'm also seeing increased leads on less traffic.
Yeah. I was actually going to go into some of that as well. So I'm glad you brought it up. So, with this change, it's a zero click search now. I wanted to talk a little bit about how has all of this changed your approach to SEO, paid search, website performance, or even conversion strategy for your clients?
All right, so let's digest that piece by piece. So, AI engine optimization, or AEO, what we've adopted as the term, because there's a huge argument in the community about what is it called, GEO, AEO, EIO. I'm not sure. So everybody's got a saying. Is really just proper SEO, except you're amplifying it with video for teaching like Gemini on YouTube or using brand mentions in Reddit or Facebook or one of the other places that they look. The goal of it is still pull them off of wherever they are, come to the website, fill out a form. What we are seeing is going to start soon because, for instance, I think it's ChatGTP just said that they can order if you hook up your payment account to ChatGTP, which is scary as hell, will do purchase transactions through e-commerce engines,
Sure.
which to me is like, it scares me actually, because I'm not ready to have Rosie Jetson go buy champagne for me yet. Like that's just not on my list of things to do. Get the laundry, get the dishes taken care of, and then we'll talk
Sure.
about champagne kind of thing.
See, you don't want a kid in a candy store with $100 bill. So, given AI has changed a lot of things as far as businesses operate today, of course, there's been a lot of impact to marketing, to everybody's daily functions, for sure. What is the impact on, say, SEO, paid search, website performance, or conversion strategies? And we can tackle those one at a time if you like.
Yeah. So whether you call it AEO or GEO or EIEIO, the end result is you're doing the same things as proper SEO. You still have to prove EAT. You need to be more detailed than ever. If especially for a widget, try starting with price, starting at price point. Something like that. Real details, not marketing fluff, because AI agents ignore fluff immediately. And they know, and it's crazy how well they know. For me, I have tried to get my clients to be the same person online that they are offline.
Sure.
All right. For instance, I've got an HR client, great dude. I like him a lot. And he wanted to use an AI voice. And I said, that's great, but I would rather it sound like you. So we talked it over and he gave me a download of his voice. And so we've trained an AI agent to sound like him because he has this amazing, like classic radio announcer voice. It's, in the era of storytelling, when you have an asset like that versus
Sure.
something that sounds like the humans were discovered by the aliens and whatever
Right.
those Facebook memes that pop
Right.
up sound like. And you can tell immediately they're fake. His is just authentic and it carries that gravitas that you want. And I use that term deliberately because if you remember when you were a kid, you were listening to your grandfather tell a story from back in the 30s or 40s and how things were and what he had to do and all that carrying heavy bucket of coal up a bunch of stairs and having a German Shepherd dog that he had like mine did. You sit cross-legged on the floor and listen for hours. And so my point behind that is be authentic more than anything else. Be authentic. Be who you are because it's going to come out anyway if you're not and you're trying to do something otherwise. So for AEO, details matter. SEO is still there. It's just shrunk down to, I tell clients, we're going to pick core terms that define your offering and the location because those haven't been hit as much yet. Although that Google is offering, contractors near me, HR companies near me, marketing agencies near me. Okay. Podcasts matter more than ever. Brand mentions, saying my company name, saying a client's name on a podcast, it helps that client. Because if you take this and put it in YouTube first and then give it 48 hours, you're training Gemini. You win Gemini, you can go tackle Chat GTP. You win that, you now have a shot at Perplexity, Claude, and the others. And the goal of all that isn't just you're getting brand mentions, but you're also getting the shot at lead gen because I'm getting leads now through ChatGTP out of Georgia, where that's 300-400 miles from where I live. And to me, that's a big deal because I'm not in the neighborhood, but I'm known as the best small business marketing agency in the Southeast. I will take that all day. That I didn't win any awards. I don't need awards. My clients are the ones I care about. But if I've gotten labeled as the best small business agency in the Southeast US, I'll take that all day. So for a checklist of sorts, real content, be authentic, videos now more than ever, podcasts help, brand mentions are great, and publications and journalists, especially if you're focused on a local SEO effort, 50 miles, your local TV station would be a great place to start. And make sure you have a story behind your brand. Why do you do what you do, for whom, how, and make it easy.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I've had to do for my clients. We've almost reinvented the same things we've done. We're just calling it something different else or something else now.
Talking about clients, right? You built your business around being the loyal partner rather
Yes.
than just a vendor. Or, in your words from our earlier conversation, you want to be the internal marketing department for your SMB clients. What does that
Yes.
look like in practice when you're trying to win trust with new SMB clients?
So for me as the lead strategist, I feel more like the VP or director of marketing for my clients. Most of my clients have maybe one person as a marketer. Okay. A lot of times a junior talent that can do some social media posts is very tactical, but nobody that's strategic. My goal is to help clients hit their potential because they try to hit this, they do this, they throw stuff at the wall to see if it sticks because they don't have time to sit back and think about it, whereas
Yep.
we do.
Right.
And so we produce monthly, we sit down and talk to them and go through, okay, this is what we've done. This is what we see. This is the results we've got. Here's what we need to do next month. Quarterly, you sit down and say, for the next quarter, what do we want to focus on? What goals are we trying to accomplish? So, like, if we want to rank for this term, because it's going to take a month or two sometimes to get, and if it's a really hard term, you might be looking at it for 6 months to a year. The goal of all that is add the strategic layer, make sure the tactical execution is handled, simplify for the client, take that burden off of their shoulders. So, because you're either working in the business or on the business.
Sure.
And for the owners, I want them on the business because I don't want them tactical. I want them to think, what are my goals? Where am I going? Who I need to hire? What other piece parts do I need? I want to take care of the marketing aspect for them so that they don't have to worry about reading a search engine journal blog on the latest issues for SEO or paid search or social media issues. I don't want them to have to spend that time and do that. If they do and they're educated, great. Let's have a conversation. But at the same time, if they don't have that time because they're like me and they got kids and a wife and three crazy dogs, 17 chickens in the backyard, they got other things to do.
Sure. Absolutely. It definitely puts a different spin on it when you've established that trust and they treat you like one of their own and they're like, hey, Chris, you got this. Okay, I don't have to worry about it. Let me focus on, hey, do I need to get more trucks? Because you're going to blow up my pipeline. So I might need more work trucks or I might need a couple extra hands or whatever.
And that leads me back to like a conversation like we had where I was sitting in the dojo practicing because recently got my black belt. So I was working with other black belts, but I overheard my sensei actually talking to another business person that he works with. And the guy looked at him and said, Charles, you look a lot different, better, but different. What's changed? And he goes, well, Chris handles my marketing. I don't worry about that anymore. And that's one of the greatest honors I've had because that man's got 6 black belts, trained special forces, was 20 years Air Force, retired. Great guy, one of the most humble guys I've met. But for him to look at another guy and say, I took this off my shoulders, gave it to him, and he took care of it. I get the leads. We just close them. That's what the whole dog mentality, bringing you what you need as, the loyal partner, that's where that comes from.
Yeah. That's how converting customers into evangelists, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Good
Yeah.
referral partner too.
Oh, for sure. So you guys do a lot in terms of web design, SEO, paid search, and social. When you look at this whole portfolio, right, which services are most aligned to your ideal client today? And what makes a client a great fit?
So for me, it helps to have the budget to carry the load that I need to do the thing. I can do things on a small budget. We have several clients that we help out because we think they're cool and they're upstarts and they're doing something interesting and then we can make something work. At the same time, if we can do SEO and social together, I can create brand mentions with Facebook, Reddit, etc. Okay. On the other hand, the SEO aspect, the website is optimized to catch what comes at it.
Sure.
So whether it's Karate Wake Forest or if it's a tax accountant in North Carolina or HR company that works nationwide or a small business marketing agency in Southeast US.
Sure.
Okay. The point behind that is I try to find a way to maximize the brand awareness to create more lead generation. All right. Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to put money back in their pockets so that they say, oh, this is a good value. They're going to keep engaging with me. And it works because I've got clients. I average 5 years with clients. And I got one that's a property manager who's been with me for 13 years and his growth is phenomenal. So if they have a good business model, I can drive results behind it. So in terms of who works well with me, any small business, professional services, trades, small manufacturing companies, heck, I've got a woman that's a seamstress that's built a pattern service that does stuff for major brands and
Hmm.
refines the stuff, makes them more efficient, makes the patterns actually fit correct. So you don't have a variance between zero sizes or four sizes or whatever the heck you're going up. The point of all that is it's just if I can see where they're going and it makes enough sense to me, I can make it make sense to other people. And that's my goal. Because you go into business because you're good at something that you enjoy enough to do it and that you can make money at it.
For sure.
If you get those 3 things, then you'll be well on your way to success.
When it comes to saying no to clients, if you ever have a time where you're like, I don't want to take this customer or this customer is not worth taking on, what would dissuade you from going with a customer or saying no to some?
Yeah, I know where you're going. The main thing for me is mutual respect. Okay. You can argue against my point, and I am totally cool with it because that's an educational based, logic based discussion. And two people who are very intelligent, which I tend to run into a bunch of people who are very intelligent, very good at what they do. And I don't care if someone never went to college or, I've got a lot of trade guys that didn't, and they're awesome because you know what? Plumbers, electricians, HVAC guys, especially HVAC guys in the South in the summer, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Love you dearly. Okay. Because air conditioning is God's gift to mankind. We survive in the South,
Yeah.
especially on 95-degree days like we got in Raleigh. The point behind that is I can say, okay, the code, teach me the subject matter. Let me figure out how to make machinery work to get you business.
Hmm.
I don't care. And if you sound like Larry the Cable Guy, that's okay. Be who you are because
Sure.
when you answer the phone, that's what they're going to hear. I want them to hear it on the website. I don't care. And tell them, say, look, I didn't go to college. It's okay. I have 15 certifications in this type of technology that make me ideal for you to service your HVAC and keep you cool.
Yeah.
Great. Because I don't want somebody that does nuclear physics doing my HVAC.
Right.
However, someone who's rude or inconsiderate, especially I had a situation where there was a potential client of mine that I had taken out to lunch. And this goes job interviews and everything else. I've seen this a lot of times where he yelled at his wife in the restaurant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was enough for me to say, you know what? This doesn't feel like a good fit. Because if you're going to do that in public, what is private situations like?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want my staff to suffer because I'm chasing a dollar. That's not fair. They didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
So to me, it goes back to the dog mentality. We treat others like we want to be treated. And
Hmm.
we only ask that you treat us back in the same regard.
For
And
sure.
that is my major one red flag
Yeah.
because things will go sideways and Google's going to change the algorithm. Paid search is going to go awry. Something is going to happen. It always does because, and this is just my motto. I don't push on it, but you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. Okay. Things are going to go off the rails and we have to adapt and figure out how to make it get back on track. That is what the job is. And so if someone doesn't give grace, especially in a public setting to their spouse,
Right.
that was why I was like, I think I need to back out. And I did so
Yeah.
gracefully and said, have a nice day. And, I wish them well. Maybe they didn't like me. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm trying to make sure that, like I said, my staff is taken care of. They
Yeah.
get what they need. I get what I need. And we go on from there.
Absolutely. When you look at the future, let's just start with 12 to 18 months, right? What's one challenge that, if solved, would make the biggest impact on whether it's your growth or your client retention?
Better identifying zero click searches, driving AI results. Okay. Those two things are going to represent the biggest challenge because right now, as I can understand it, and I may be wrong, but this is what I understand is total of AI search is somewhere between 10, 15, maybe 20%. It's
Hmm.
taken because I can see a 40 or 50% decline in total search, but AI answers are coming up as zero click searches is higher, but AI has taken over a lot of things. I could see Google going away with the traditional paid search model, or excuse me, the organic search model, turning it totally into Gemini.
Sure.
And that would mean Gemini would own 30 to 40% of the market, maybe as much as 50. The others would come along behind it. because ChatGTP just launched paid ads, which says everybody else is not far behind.
Sure.
What those clicks are valued at and how they convert, I don't know. What it does for websites, don't know yet. You just build a landing page in ChatGTP. They don't have that function yet. It's a very interesting thing. Social media is becoming more and more of a dumpster fire because think of it this way. I have friends that have groups of 20, 30,000 members that were stolen from them. Facebook yawned and did nothing to address it. And the executives at Facebook didn't even engage because they said, well, we know about it. We can't do anything because the computer did something. There's no override to the AI. And that to me is scary as hell because what happened with Skynet and Terminator? I know it's a movie
Yes.
reference. However, how many movie references have come true? We don't have flying cars yet,
Not
but
far away. Yeah.
yeah, well, there are a couple of models, but they're not the general public, thank God,
Right.
because driving down 440 in Raleigh is enough to make you go, Jesus, I don't want any of these people flying.
Well, most
But
people can't handle 2 dimensions. You think they can handle 3?
I could do it. I mean, I'm a licensed pilot. I'm okay with it. But I would want the standard a little higher than, dude with no brakes, no tires, thinking he can cruise along in a Volkswagen at, 3,000 feet at 75 miles an
Yeah.
hour. My real concern is that 20 people, maybe 30, are the real researchers behind AI. Okay. What it is, what it does, how it acts, and what the inputs and when the outputs, and how the prompts work. They're the ones that really understand it. Everybody
Mhm.
else doesn't, and they're giving full autonomy to these AIs. Okay. Because what's number one rule when you go to a business school is if you don't understand the work, you can't manage the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time I've gone through a certification or a degree program, I've always had to do it the old way first and learn it, then come and do the new way. And so to me, this is a classic case of people rushing because keep up with the Joneses.
Mhm.
ChatGPT broke ground, Meta is trying to do something, Google's doing something, but nobody really knows how it works in the executive level. They'll get briefings, they have memos, but they don't understand it because 20 people control it. And that to me is the scariest freaking thing for breaking the one ecosystem that has driven the success in the last 10 to 15 years for this country, which is the digital, they call it performance marketing. It's really digital marketing. All right. My one thing is you have to understand it. And there are very few and far between that do. I have a rudimentary idea of best. I've got two people on my staff that know it very well because they geek out and they read everything that comes down and they test it almost intensively. That scares the crap out of me. I'm not going to lie there. Now, will everything old become new again? We go back to magazine ads and television ads. Television, broadcast television's fallen off the rails. So is cable. We've gone to streaming
Right.
services.
Yep.
I've told all my trades clients, I've told them all, I said, you need to have a QR code. It needs to be 2 feet by 2 feet square on the back of your truck, on the side of your truck.
Right.
Needs to go to a special page on your website that someone saw your truck and say, hey, did you see us at your neighbor's house? Click here,
Yeah.
request a free quote. I'm
Yeah,
getting an
exactly.
additional 15 to 20% leads just from that. And I can track it and I can replicate it and I can scale it. I say, take your truck and go park it in a parking lot for an afternoon on the street. You will get 15 leads just because, and that's classic guerrilla marketing tactics, brand awareness. We fix your yard, QR code, or
Yeah,
we need your service. You need your electrical service fixed. Is your HVAC working? If you could, and especially if you're a larger company and have multiple trucks like Casey Services up in Wake Forest or one of the many other electrical companies running around here, why are you not putting a QR code to a landing page on your website?
absolutely.
Your free billboards, take the middleman out of the equation.
Yeah, you've got a point there because for the longest time, right, before the AI disruption, let's just say that, we had a lot of people, even now, they're still wrapping their cars or their trucks and they put ads on them. But by the time you write down or try to type in their website, they're moved. And so most phones now have the shortcut to the camera button, right? Or
Mhm.
the button to launch the camera. And it's funny you mentioned it because I recently had another guest on a podcast that works on a lot of these interactive TV ad buying and positioning. And so that's another space where I've seen a lot of this, hey, you're watching something on your Fire TV, right? And you got the basic Amazon membership. You didn't pay for the next level. And suddenly maybe Alexa heard something that you said. You were at home talking to your wife and you mentioned that, hey, we should look into getting a Glade plugin or something for the garage that smells weird. And suddenly it's on there for you to click with your sender button, one click, add to cart while you're watching a sitcom. So,
I mean,
ex-
and the thing that drives me crazy with all the Facebook ads, if they would actually put the data that they have to engage fully
yeah,
with people and not make you go get third party data to bring in to your ads, you could target so much better in Facebook because you
yep,
could do it. You just have to go
yep,
get third party data to bring in.
yeah,
Whereas you can target the same people almost that are on LinkedIn that you want on Facebook and do it for pennies on the dollar.
yep.
It's amazing what you can do, but you're paying for the data on the front side and you're leveraging that data almost on a daily basis. Like I said, if a trade company is watching this right now, you need to have a QR code on every freaking side of the truck. Hell, get one for the windshield sun blocker and put it up when they're facing one way. Then you got all four sides.
When you're
It
parked
will
out of the
make you
sun,
money.
yeah.
It's amazing to me how easy it is to make money if you don't let common sense get thrown out the window. Make it easy.
I think it'd be a great idea in hotter states like Texas, where I'm at. You're small, it's hot as heck, and you see some of your customers, they don't have a sunshade when they're parking outside. And you're like, hey, by the way, I noticed you don't have a sunshade here. Take one. And they put it in their windshield, and you've
Yeah,
got,
for like a windshield company, that's freaking
yeah,
brilliant because you
yeah,
use it every day. And who are you going to call when your windshield breaks? Like a friend of mine, Bill Harper, does a different podcast. And he was talking about this, and he was talking about how to do simple advertising. The guy was running around junk hauling service. He spray painted the back of a sheet of plywood and used it as the backdrop to his truck and drove around and said, "Junk hauled off, just call here," and had a
brilliant,
QR code. It was
brilliant.
freaking brilliant. The dude
Yeah,
was making money, and his truck looked like hell, but you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares
exactly.
how good your tires are, anything. If you make it easy and convenient to get in touch with you, and it's a simple brand promise of, "I'll do this for you,"
Yep,
especially B2C, all
yep.
day long.
It's all about pain, mechanism, and outcome, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. When you look at your client acquisition, right? Since we talked about the QR codes and smart branding and putting messages on every single flat panel that you can, as long as it's not illegal, what's working best for you on your client acquisition, whether it's referrals, search, content, paid media, partnerships? Where tell us a little about that.
So we run a variety of sources. I mean, SEO is still good for us. It's not as good as it used to be, but people are now going back to who do you know? You need to be the guy for somebody because it's funny. Someone asked me, or someone's talking about, hey, I know somebody because I have trades as clients. And so I always refer them because I've usually been their customer before they're my
Sure.
client.
Yeah.
And like my GC, I've known him 35 years. I've known him since high school. And so anytime somebody says, I need a renovation, I'm like, you need to talk to Neil. Just call Neil Hallis. You will be taken care of. And if you need to have a good referral system, you need to build friends. All right. So for me, HR company, business attorney, tax accountant, I kind of built around where I have people that can fix a problem
Mhm.
and have clients that I can pass because if a client has a problem outside of marketing, I'm like, look, I'll talk to you about it. I'll be your psychologist. That's not my bailiwick, but okay. And a lot of times you sit around and say, ain't that some stuff? However, if I can give them to a true proper professional like Delton Barnes down in Shelby, North Carolina, who does North Carolina law for businesses, I hand them off to them. He can do their business organization. He can do the structure, all that stuff, give them a proper contract, everything that they're going to need. But HR company, I've got one down in Jacksonville that's amazing. I've got a tax account down in Cary, right, that can take care of businesses, and he's cheaper than a lot of people in New York or California, so he pulls clients from there. Now he's been a
Uh-huh.
client of mine for 5 years, and it's been really good. But we pass people back and forth because I have a problem. All right, well, tell me more about this problem. Let's talk it out.
Mhm.
And then in my head, I'm like, okay, who else do I need to put in the room? Because as a marketer, I want to be the guy they can go to, but I'm not the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be. I have staff that's really intelligent. Most of them have master's degrees, in UI UX or MBAs or whatever, and they're really good. And the other part of this is I have clients that also do specialties and things that I can hand off and then say, hey, Dalton, got a business client for you. Here you go, taken care of. And HR company, hey, they need to do business. They're talking about doing a reorg. They want to talk it through. Here you go. And they come back to me. Hey, you need to meet so and so. He's got a problem. He needs to rebuild his website. Great. Let's talk. It makes a good symbiosis type relationship or symbiotic relationship, I should say. That's how it's phrased. But the beautiful thing, I mean, it's just now more than ever, have a good story, have good friends. It makes for a better life, especially if you're going to run a business.
Yeah. Very true. If you could instantly solve one problem inside your agency, right? Whether it's growth, delivery, or lead quality, what would that be and why?
Lead quality is always going to be a challenge because you don't know where people are at in their journey until growth really isn't a problem. I can't scale as fast as the others, but I'm also a boutique agency. I am not McDonald's.
Right.
Right. We find when we have a client come to us, we try to figure out where they are, where they want to go, so that I can build the trajectory to get them there. And being that it's custom, that means a little more R&D because
Correct.
not two businesses are not alike, and you're rarely going to find two businesses that operate the same way. The good and the bad of that is that not all my potential clients have the runway to get through that
Sure.
problem.
Sure.
Some of them need a quick turn fix, and SEO is not that game. Paid search, maybe if they got budget. I mean, I can throw some money at paid search and I can get them a few leads and we can build some more time. But the problem is if they come to me so late in the game because they think they can fix it, well, I can't fix it. It's like this stupid shed I got in my backyard. Okay. I'm trying to put a pool in the backyard. I have a shed. Wake County has a rule where you have to have it permitted. Well, I didn't know this. Now I'm trying to fix that problem. I have a pool put in, and now I got to get 2 finals done. So now I've compressed a time budget where I'm working after hours on this stupid shed trying to get it done. And the fun and games of it is you get to where, for business purposes, you get to where people just don't have the time. They don't have the money, time or money, or both. That compounds the situation drastically.
Sure.
And so for me, what I love to be able to do is get in as soon as possible. Because if you're talking about growing, it's why I offer it. Come, let's have a consultation. Let me talk to you. I don't charge you for it. I'll do an audit. I will sit down and say, okay, here's your full SWOT analysis. Here's your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats.
Yep.
Like there's a trash company locally that I'm talking to. He's a great dude, like him a lot. Actually, I'm his customer. So I've known him for a while and somebody else is buying somebody else. Okay. Like that's all I know right now. So there'd be two gorillas in the room. But at the end of the day, he's got opportunities to work around there because he can be more agile. And he takes better care of his customers because the big ones, they don't care. You don't get your trash
Correct.
picked up? Yeah, we'll get it next week.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
several companies I've seen's motto. Whereas in a nimble, smaller company with fewer customers that's only here that does care because they have to, because they need to be reliable, because they built their brand around it, that is where you win. And
Yeah.
so these days, for building a brand, and to kind of circle back on this point, it goes back to you need a good story and own your brand promise. Because if you don't, people don't forget real quick and you've got a
Sure.
problem.
Sure. When you think about balancing between hands-on strategy and building repeatable systems, right?
Mhm.
How are you thinking about that as the agency grows?
Well, repeatable systems is a good CRM or it's a good lead capture method. I mean, if you have a spreadsheet that gets it, you take it from your website, throw it to a spreadsheet, fine, whatever you got, just work with it because you don't want to miss leads. You get a lead in the door that's a qualified, marketing qualified lead because form filler or phone call should be one if they show interest. If you don't have it to where you can do it and you can walk away from it for a day and have it done, now you're back to being that employee of the business, not the employee, the owner of the business working on the. That's why that there. Lead acquisition, if I remember that question correct, right?
It's basically balancing between being hands-on
Okay.
versus building repeatable systems as
Well,
the agency grows.
repeatable systems is going to keep you from burning out. Okay. It's not so much a standard operating procedure. It's simply taking you out of the equation, making you not burn out. I mean, we get a lead come in, my project manager sees it, I see it, and my other account manager see it. Me or my account manager will handle it. But my project manager sees it because she's kind of like my work wife. And I love that about her because I do not forget crap because of her. She's more organized than I am. And that's why I hired her, you know? And so, because burnout for entrepreneurs is real, it's very real. Like it happens more than I want to admit. That's why 97% of the people say, screw it, and go work for 3% of the people that say, I'm not going to quit. But when you're running an agency, especially, or even a small business, agency life will get you because if you don't have stuff set up to be able to get away, because I love taking afternoons off, take my daughters to karate. Okay.
Sure.
Also, a reason why I like having a karate dojo as a client because I can go do that. And also, then I get to kind of see behind the scenes what's happening at the dojo, come up with ideas for content, talk to the sensei, some because it's always a privilege to talk to him because he's smart as hell. And I learn a thing or two. Either you turn the question around, all right, and I'm pivoting this because I'd have a deliberate point behind this. Either you turn the question around and make it favorable for you, or you let it eat you alive. Okay. Because how do I do this? Well, it's like Ethan Allen. If you haven't heard this is a really interesting tidbit. As I learned it from what Lincoln supposedly did during the War between the States. He was sitting in the War Department, and Ethan Allen had gone over to England to work our business before the king and try to get him to do what we needed to do. He was staying in a house of some lord apparently and had used the water closet. Well, went in there, and when he did, he saw a picture of George Washington, which was kind of a deliberate snub, i.e., the question could eat you alive, and you could be pissed off about it. Or, like what Ethan Allen did, he came out and looked at it, and the Lord said, "Well, was the water closet acceptable?" Yeah, yes, it was. He said, "Did you notice the picture of George Washington?" Why, yes, I did. And he said, "Well, what did you think about it?" Well, I think it was completely appropriate. The Lord was surprised. But then the next question, the Lord's like, "Well, why do you think it was appropriate?" Because he said, "Because nothing makes an Englishman crap faster than the sight of George Washington." So either
Brilliant.
you turn the question into something favorable or
Right.
funny and make it memorable, or you let it eat you alive.
Yeah. It's nicely put. Are there any repetitive tasks or processes across whether it's SEO, reporting, campaign management, content production, or even client comms that take too much time that could be automated?
Yeah. Half of
Yeah.
reporting can be automated. I mean, the parts that I don't like automated is when you're writing detailed notes to clients on what's happened. That needs to be done by a human. But grabbing all the rankings and the lead flow, you have to validate the lead flow is right because sometimes Google Analytics likes to fib a little bit. But all that needs to be done, can be automated. Hell, an AI could write most of that. If we go through and edit it, make it look like a human being did it, that's where it needs to
Sure.
happen. But the first outreach could be done by an AI. Hey, I'm Chris's assistant. I see that you wanted to have a conversation. I would love to schedule a meeting. Is this the best email address or best phone number for me to use? It is. Okay, great. When can we set up the meeting? When we work with your schedule? Or probably coming soon, two AIs are going to talk and say, hey, here's his calendar. What works for your calendar? Bada bing. And then all of a sudden an invite pops up. I could see that happening in the next 6 months. That would be kind of cool as hell. That is where Rosie Jetson needs to be, not doing my creative. I do not need it doing all that stuff. But other automations, I mean, the minutia stuff, updating website plugins, great. Report back to me and tell me did everything look acceptable and does A equal A, but does the site still look the same as it did before it does in all the variations? Things that could take me hours to go through and look at mobile versus desktop versus tablet versus smaller computer, larger computer screen, whatever. That would be outstanding. For another small business, it could be budgeting and where are we and how's the pacing. Be like the Friday character on Iron Man, where he goes through and details out. So this is the way things are right now, kind of thing. I would love to have that.
Yeah.
I would love to have it where it would report to me every morning and give me a 15-second brief and what I need to know and how, and then log me in so that I can go verify. Because was it Theodore Roosevelt or FDR was trust but verify.
Yes.
That is what you need to be doing with your AIs.
Yep. Absolutely. In terms of metrics, right? Which ones matter most to you?
Lead flow
Okay.
all day.
Lead flow.
Everything else is vanity. Because I have clients that are saying, well, I'm number two, but I want to be number one. I'm like, okay, I can't tell you which is going to give you better lead flow right now because sometimes people don't like number one.
Yeah.
They think it's been gained. And honestly, whole site traffic or macro level full site traffic is a vanity metric now. If you are trying to market your business, you need to figure out 10 or 15 terms that really matter to you. So, like for the karate dojo, karate Wake Forest, martial arts Wake Forest martial arts, because there's a difference in they show up there, or tax accountant Carrie, or HR business partner, or HR partner United States, or near me. Especially look at the near me terms. Holy cow, that's where a lot of stuff is going. But metrics, lead flow, how many times did you get click throughs for certain terms? If you're in the top three for a term, then I really don't care. I
Yeah.
mean, I will try to get number one. Yeah. Am I going to worry about it too much if you don't have it? No, because at the end of the day, if I'm giving you more leads than I thought I could get, you're welcome. Because at the end of the day, this device versus that device versus, the tablet versus your phone, another somebody else's, they're all going to have different results. And I have clients that sit here and argue with me about, I don't rank for this and this and this for this location. I'm like, yes, you do. And they're looking at paid ads, or worse, they don't understand why they don't look good in a different town
Mhm.
versus where they normally reside. I'm like, guys, you got to realize it is a personalized search metric. So don't worry about this. Let's look at it at a macro view. What is Google Search Console or Bing Search Console saying? Where are we? Where are the lead flow? If we're above where we thought, or even meeting expectations, relax. Will we try to get it better? Yes. Can I guarantee it? No, because Google's going to change something tomorrow and I'm going to have to re-rig for everything.
For sure. So as we go towards wrapping up the podcast, right? What's your long-term vision for Big Red Dog, and what kind of strategic partnerships would help you get there faster?
Well, having cool podcasts to be on is always a blessing. Not going to lie about that. Long term vision, honestly, I haven't thought much more about 5 years from now, but would I love my daughter to come take this over one day? Sure. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I honest to God do not know. I mean, the goal for me is keep making clients happy, get a few more clients in the door, keep the money coming in, keep the lights on, and also just enjoy being.
Yeah.
Because as long as I enjoy doing this, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
Really doesn't have to be much more complicated than that, because my dad died when I was 26. So I don't make ultra long term plans because I got 3 kids and a wife, 3 dogs, said it before, 17 chickens. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I just have to take a maxi-min approach, maximize gain on a minimize risk, and just be agile. And okay, I got to pivot.
Yeah, I hear you. In terms of adding outside support, right? Do you see any value in adding outside support whether it comes to automation, content systems, videos, fractional growth leadership, or lead nurturing?
I mean, having a video partner, yeah, it would be great. I mean, I've got a couple of guys that I can call if I need something more than a cell phone video. If, in terms of automation systems, I mean, it depends on it, depends on the client. Most of my clients are really small business and their phone system is one of their bigger things, or maybe their email
Yep.
system is the second biggest thing. Their CRMs are usually basic, Pipe Drive or Go High Level or something like that. In a year or two, things may change a lot. I don't know right now, and I don't control those budgets. For me, like I said, I don't want to automate anything in the creative process because I've got 3 very good brains driving that process right now. And I don't want to ruin that because I think that they're too valuable.
For sure. Well, hey, thank you for making time and working through some of the few tech glitches that we had today.
It's all fun and games till someone loses an eye.
Yeah, it's been great to have you, Chris. Thanks for taking the time and just being with us when we know you got projects to get back to. So very much appreciate it.
And I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.